Hi everyone, welcome to this series that I call Gist. It's about making a video log of the books, the articles, and anything that I read, see, consume, and put certain takeaways, key learnings, thoughts, initial opinions, initial questions, especially questions and preponderances towards anything and everything that I consume. Well, these video logs are for my own consumption and for anybody else that it helps. Today or tomorrow, when you want to refer back while traveling or otherwise, you can just quickly go through them and see what was covered. Just keep it handy. Well, with that, let's unravel what this book is. The name of the book is The Art of Thinking Clearly by Rolf Dobelli. It's always these books with the Do You Know and the Art of, they're always very attractive and very easily tempting to be taken off the shelf and then be bought. But beyond that, some of them do have content and substance, beyond the just beyond the catchy caption and title. This is one of them to speak of, and that's just my opinion. That's my first take on it. I've thought a bit about this book, especially. I mean, you would see that I went out to spend the whole afternoon try to finish this book up, and then spend some time at a peaceful lake out in the nature to think about things and make certain notes. Uh, Talking about this book, before talking about this book, this person, I mean, Rolf Dobelli, he's a Swiss national and he's a businessman, entrepreneur, writer, thinker, sailor, pilot, and a multifaceted personality at that. But what he's written and what he's given us, I mean, he's got a very different take on things if you read about him. But what he's given us is a sort of a very practical book that we should have with us. If we cannot, I mean, please do go ahead and read the book for yourself. I mean, that's always the best source. The original is the best source always. So this video is not going to be in any way, shape, or form replicating that. Uh, but if you cannot get hold of the whole book, do make sure that you note down or take down the notes from whenever you borrow this book or get this book. The first 3 pages, which is the index pages that I'm referring to, it's got a list of 99 chapters. Sounds a little longer list, but then the chapters are really quick and short because they're covering the precise moot point that is the author is highlighting. But you know what? These 99. I mean, I've done this for myself, so I'm just spilling out beans. What I'm doing, literally. I do not want to indulge in advices and unsolicited, especially advice. And I've taken the notes of these pages and I've kept it for myself. What I do is in fact, have made a checklist out of those chapters because whenever I find time now, what I'm trying to do is use those as a check on my own thought process because you would realize, and we'll talk about some of those biases and fallacies that we all live with, is that we miss those out. This forms a sort of a self-help checklist. That's what I've kind of figured out in essence from this book. I mean, you can read through this book fairly quickly. That's not a problem. But the thing is, it takes time. It's almost like a workbook. You remember we used to take work home and then practice. It's like that. You need to put it in practice. It's not going to happen in a day, in an hour, or a week. It's something that you'll have to practice regularly. That's what I think. Uh, I mean, to begin with, if you think that you are somebody or you know somebody who knows everything, that you believe what you believe, and then you think you're right, or that you're the chosen one, that you wear a lucky shirt and then it helps you clear interviews, or you start a new habit on the New Year's Day and then you keep waiting for the New Year's Day, and then you're somebody who hoards junk, and then you never find a day when you use those. They just keep accumulating in your storeroom or your garage. You're somebody who's seen shapes in the clouds, or somebody who's who thinks the success is their own but the failures are somebody else's fault. If you think you know somebody who's all this, if not yourself, it's all you know somebody who's got all these traits. Well, let me say something. It's Don't be surprised, but it's you as well. It's me as well. It's all of us. These traits are very common, one or the other. I mean, I'm not saying all of them would be there, but some of the other traits are so common that we are all party to these fallacies, this sort of thinking. Well, the king of all these, I think, let's begin with the book now. King of all these is the cognitive bias, which is confirmation bias. These biases that the author is talking about is coming in from behavioral economics, psychology, and neuroscience. But then this book becomes sort of a practical guide to help us check and balance our irrationality with some sort of logic, statistics, numbers, facts. And it's absolutely in our own interest and nobody else's. That's the key point. It's for our own interest. Well, if somebody thinks that they're always right, well, this book is not for them because you are right, then you don't need help. I mean, I'm not even going to touch upon that because, in my mind, anyway, if you think you're perfect, then there is some problem. So I don't go by that approach. But I can understand that some people have to have some basic level of confidence to get by this life. So they would believe that, yeah, they are right. I have a different take on it. I am okay accepting the fact that I don't know much, and I know the limitations of my cognitive capabilities, my IQ, and everything. So I go by the approach, all right, let me open myself to others who are more intelligent around me and then learn from them. That's why I find this book more relatable. Having said that, it's something that I've found that, let's say the biases, they help. uh, Confirmation bias, let's talk about that. So confirmation bias, what is it? Confirmation is bias is basically, as the name suggests, that you keep confirming to yourself that what you're thinking or the people around you thinking, so-called like-minded group, right? We all are so keen to get pally with like-minded people. I always hang around with like-minded people. I like-minded people. I like going to trips or drinks with like-minded people. Well, the good part is that, okay, you get along, you have good time, but the flip side is also there, that you spend too much time with the like-minded people, then you're just confirming each other's biases and praising each other and not being able to challenge each other's thoughts. So that is confirmation bias. We keep reinforcing our convictions and keep believing in them even stronger or strongly. Well, same is the case with shapes and clouds. I mean, that's just somebody who would have seen it, and for the lack of conviction in ourselves, we would not want to be sure of our logic, and somewhere that plays in the part that we start believing it, and we're like, yeah, I also see that. I mean, there have been multiple instances and experiments that have been done by the science community in this genre, in this field, and the author keeps referring to those in detail. I mean, so I think that it will be essential and important that you go through them in detail. But considering this particular section, for the interest of this particular video and this discussion that I'm having, it's important to understand what this does, what this challenge does. It helps you develop some sort of a skepticism to overcome the traps of fallacies, of your own biases. That's what it is doing. In fact, I would say, to the extent that after reading this book, I've felt that, it's essential to question yourself rather than opine on certain things. Well, that's something I've realized. Another example, bowing to authority is a very common practice. We all think that these people are experts and we need to listen to them. It could be in any field, it could be in the fields of economics, science, business, or even, on touchy topics of politics and religion. Well, here's an example that was quoted, and I've been thinking about it, and it's so apt. Out of a million probably economists in the world, none of them was able to accurately predict the the brewing economic financial crisis, or when it was about to happen, until it happened. So that's what it is. I mean, there's reams of literature and reports that keep, get passed around, and that is generated on a daily basis, but nothing helps. uh, I mean, it's not to take anything away from their skills and expertise, but what is being said is that it's good to question. Somebody would have questioned the numbers, the logic. uh, Maybe somebody could have, narrowed down the possibility of a financial crisis to happen. It's also coming in from another example whereby we prefer a wrong map to none at all. I mean, we all kind of have this bias towards availability, that at least it's available. Let's go with it. Uh, you know, we kind of create a picture of the world that through the examples that come easily to our mind. So we look for comfort. We're very unsettled by discomfort. We are very unsettled by the possibility of being seen as a simpleton, and that's the problem. And that's where we kind of get along. We want to get part of a group where we can feel comfortable and covered and hidden. Another example that the author gave was story bias, which stuck with me because stories are dubious entities, quoting the author. They simplify and distort realities, but they miss out on a lot of details, right? I mean, evolutionary times, speaking of ancestors and those times living in the wild, a lot of things were just shared as knowledge. There were no books per se to kind of learn and wrote or note down or record something. So people were used to listening to each other and create general understanding of things. So stories would be generic. Stories would be over encompassing probably. That would leave out a lot of details and devil is in the details, as they say. So it kind of forms an opinion and an idea in your mind, but that might be uh, well checked by knowing the details at times. And we've seen it all. I mean, we can go on the whole tirade on religion, on politics. The stories are concocted by the people who kind of use that divisive power, and then people buy it. They'll create generalizations about castes, creeds, religions, skin colors, and then divide the whole thing. They would generalize a whole, community by that, by typecasting it into it. That's a storyline. That's a storytelling art of those, using those traits. And we all fall party to it and in mass because we all kind of believe the power of the story and the storyteller. The more convicted, the more convincing the storyteller is, the more we believe it. We leave out the we very willingly leave out the details. Another one is that, I told you so. Well, we we've all at least once come across somebody who's said this thing in our face, or we have said it to somebody. I told you so. Well, here's a very nice way to check this habit of yours. Whenever something is coming to your mind, write it down. It could be a speculation, it could be a guesswork, it could be anything. Write it down with a diary, in a diary with the time and date. And then when you see something has happened, go and check back your notes and see, did it materialize exactly the way you said it, or the other person said it? Because this would help you figure out. And I've seen this. I've done it already on two of the instances. I was thinking, standing right here, and I noted them down, and I was like, no, I thought something else. And you got to be real honest when you have this book in your hand or the contents as a checklist, because otherwise you're just fooling yourself with your own brain, which is a little too tricky. So, having said that, I mean, we all have seen at least one instance. I told you so. You should have done this. I told you so. This would happen. All right, man. I mean, that's an easy way to check it. Write it down, cross check it when it happens or not. Uh, what else? What else do we have here? Yep. Overconfidence effect. People are willing to buy somebody else's overconfidence. People are willing to be overconfident to sell their point, to uh, make their point. To in reality, they're basically trying to cover up some shortcoming, some insecurity, something that is there they are aware of that would not fly. Uh, and basically, the way to figure out is that it's actually a difference between what people think they know and what they really know. And that difference is basically telling you the overconfidence. Like, the rest is confidence, the rest is possibly true. This is another one we need to keep in check. And a lot of things, and a lot of people fall in this bracket as well. People would tell you, especially somebody like, salesman, somebody like in your office, somebody's trying to convince you. I mean, financial advisors, like, oh yes, this fund is amazing. I mean, nobody knows it. Nobody knows the future. If that were the case, you could have invested your own money, the whole of it, and then just sit back and relax, let it make money for you. But that does not happen. It's easier to take the call with somebody else's money, right? Uh, to that extent, there's another book by Nassim Taleb. Is, there are two books, but they talk about the same thing: the skin in the game and this Black Swan event. There is also Fooled by Randomness, but these two books are pretty spot on. Uh, there's another thing, sunk cost fallacy. We keep investing our keep money invested in the stocks, even despite the fact that they made losses. We are stuck in relationships thinking that we have wasted so much time over it, so why quit now? Well, there's always a balance you need to kind of strike in those things. Another thing is whereby we are kind of fatigued by decision making. Making decisions, it can be really exhausting, and people really don't have the wherewithal to make those decisions. So they rely on other people. So they rely on other people's conviction. If the other person around you is convinced and they talk very convincingly, you get convinced. You get convinced on your decision based on their conviction power. Think about that one. Then there is information bias. We are all deluded and suppressed and submerged under this flood of information. It's always good, but then it's too much of it, and which creates confusion for us. That's another bias that creates a lot of problem for us. There is association bias, the lucky white shirt for interviews and all that. Uh, well, these are the kind of biases and effects that the author talks about, something like a Fourier effect, whereby generic statements are made by astrologers and stock analysts. So think about these, and then keep, after reading this book, or probably at least the contents, as I said, the index of this book, you would know the different types of biases. That first. Second, you would then need to probably just sit down and then, or keep these biases handy, and then see whenever you're talking, just in the back of your mind, weigh it against these biases. That's where I think this book is really helpful. I mean, in fact, I would say to the extent that this book is so essential that it should be part of our developmental years. I think I missed out, but I would say that one should have it. In fact, I would say read this book and then make sure that your children are aware of this way of thinking, which is going to help them become more skeptical and efficiently skeptical, usefully skeptical, not just be cynical. There's a fine line between skepticism and cynicism, and this will help you and all of us, in fact, to become more rational, more logical in our approach. Uh, it should be mandatory, in my opinion, in colleges and schools anyway. Before leaving, I mean, there are a couple of sentences which I'll quote unquote as from the book. They're the most amazing takeaways from this book. So bear me out on this one quick one. Uh, the inept are gifted at overlooking the extent of their incompetence. They suffer from illusory superiority, thus making thinking errors. That's a vicious cycle. Another one. Jack Welch said, "You would not believe how difficult it is to be simple and clear. People are afraid that they may be seen as a simpleton. So they would go to any extent to hide their fact that they are simple, they don't know something. It's so difficult to say that I don't know. In fact, you would see that a lot of top executives and CEOs would say, I don't know. And then that differentiates them from others because they hire the intelligent people around them and acknowledging the fact that they might not be the most intelligent in the room. Uh, well, that's what this book is all about, and uh, that's what this author has talked about. We are not perfect beings, but we are quite good at overlooking the extent of our imperfections. And that particular line has just stayed with me. We are so good at overlooking the extent of our imperfections or hide them for some vain reason that we are willing to overlook everything else. Well, that's that. That's the book in a nutshell. Quick takeaways for you. Please make sure you read this book and let me know if any thoughts are there. It'll help me think through things that I've missed out. Also, guys, let me know if there is any book that you've been trying to find out and you've not got your hands on. Uh, you've not been able to get your hands on those. I would try and find those books and read, and then share the key takeaways or the insights from those books. That'll be on me. There's another book I'm trying to kind of go through right now. When it's on the objectives and key results. As and when I can, I would share that with everyone. The key takeaways from that as well. Well, that's that. That's a wrap. And until next time, please, please, please share and subscribe and like. I will see you the next time very soon. Have a good one.